Welcome to Prepared Enough, a podcast for moms who want to lighten the mental load of motherhood and create homes where kids can thrive. I'm your host, Natasha Mila, former teacher, mom of four, and firm believer that a well-prepared home can do a lot of the heavy lifting for you. During each episode, we'll explore simple ways to design organized, intentional spaces and rhythms that build your child's responsibility and bring more ease into your day. So if you're ready to create a home that works with you and not against you, you're in the right place. Hit follow and let's get started. Hello, friend. Welcome to the Prepared Enough podcast. I hope this podcast brings more ease into your motherhood by giving you some practical ideas so your home can work harder for you and your kids can be better equipped to manage their things with less of your help. Before we get started totally today, I just want to apologize in advance because my mouth is half numb still. I had dental work done before this morning and I thought that I would be done with the numbing by this point, but I am still like half numbed up. I feel like they put so much numbing stuff in there. So I think I sound a little bit funny, but I am told that I sound pretty normal, but we'll see. Anyway, this is the podcast recording time, so it just is what it is. Before we get totally started in our topic, I just want to give a shout out to the Work and Play with Nancy Ray podcast. I've been listening to Nancy Ray for like years now, and she's always been a really encouraging source of information and just like, I don't know, I feel like I get so many tidbits out of her podcast and they're all kind of like random podcast episodes, but I've always really liked them. And honestly, I want to say that her podcast might have been the thing that like encouraged me to start a podcast myself. Anyway, she always recommends the Dwell app for listening to the Bible, and I just want to note that I have that now too, and I love it. I think that they do a Black Friday sale. They did last year, at least, I know, but I don't know if they'll do it again. I assume that they will, but their Black Friday deal, like their deals, when they do their deals, they do another one around Mother's Day, I know. And their deals are so good. It's like 60% off for like a lifetime membership. It's so good if you are ending up wanting to use it for a while. And even if you're like, oh, I just want a year, it's like so affordable to do it for a year. They have the Bible recorded by like a ton of different voices you can listen to in all the versions. And I guess I don't know if it's in all the versions, but a lot of versions. And it's just a good way to like, instead of being, if you're kind of lacking time, you know, like I am as a mom of a bunch of littles, I find this a really good way to get into my Bible by listening to it. I read ESV version, but I actually prefer to listen to the Message with the voice Ryan, who's just like a casual guy voice. It's more like a storytelling kind of the Bible instead of like the actual words. So it's not the same as reading, but I find that version easiest to listen to in my opinion, just because I don't know, the other ones it's hard to like keep track when it's actually reading the ESV version. And I also don't love any of the voices that read the ESV version, so it's fine. But I have in hand an ESV version, and then I'm just listening. I listen to the voice of Ryan when I'm like busier, and can't actually get into my Bible for a time period. Anyway, I also I've been memorizing. We've been memorizing scripture. We just did this for the first time in ever. A group of ladies, one of the ladies kind of steamrolled this, and I was so glad that she started this group. We just memorized and did verses back to one another. We did 2 Corinthians 4:13-18. That's 6 verses, guys. I know it doesn't sound like a lot, but to me that was so much because I am just not a memorization person. Like I struggle with memorization. And so to have this kind of accountability, it was really, really helpful. And we just did one verse each week, and then we like kept reading the ones before that. So like the first week we did the first of those verses, and then the second week we did the second and the first together, and then we did the third, second, and first together, first, second, and third together. So it was really nice because then the first ones got so much easier, and those are super ingrained in my brain now. And it was just nice to sit in those lines for that long of a period of time. It just kind of like opened up those words in a new light. And so it was really, really helpful. So if you've been like contemplating trying to memorize scripture more, this is just your me encouraging you to go do that for sure. It was like really, really beneficial for me. And then I'm going back to Nancy Ray. Sorry, I got a little on a Bible tangent there. But going back to Nancy Ray and her podcast, her latest podcast episode is on the Sabbath. Like, she talks about her Sabbath. She takes the Sabbath. And I really liked it. I've always had on the back of my mind, like, we should do the Sabbath. We're so busy, but we're so busy, but we're so busy. And I just we just keep going and going and going. My husband's getting a new job, and I'm like really crossing my fingers that like within this next year, our lifestyle changes a little bit. He's had really a lot of work to do, which has left a lot on my plate. And we've also had a lot of babies in a lot of years. And so, it's just been a really busy time of life. And so I'm kind of hoping for a tiny bit of a slowdown here. And I found Nancy's podcast really, really helpful. I've never thought of doing Sabbath on a Saturday. She does their family Sabbath on Saturdays. And I was like, that is really smart, actually. Because on Sunday, I feel like the last thing you want to do is like leave dishes in your sink on a Sunday night, like going into the week. That just sounds horrible for Monday. So I like that she does the Sabbath for their family on Saturdays, and then on Sunday afternoons they are like prepping for the week still, like we do right now, And so I found it kind of interesting. I did find it interesting, but I found it encouraging. Anyway, she also does this little like audio message thing, which she links to. Like, I could send her an audio message in response to her podcast episodes and stuff, or just in response to anything, which I should do. I should probably like go on there and be like, hey, thanks for being such a great source of encouragement. But I also feel like I'm going to copycat her and set that up for this space. So anyway, stay tuned. I have not done that yet. So now I'm making promises I hope I can keep. Okay. Anyway, moving into today's podcast topic. I don't remember where I heard this last year, but last year around Christmas time, I listened to a podcast that was telling a story about a family who struggled with like an influx of toys from extended family members, despite like all their pleas to their family members to like cool it on the excess toy gift buying. Their extended family members were like, we don't really care, and still went crazy on gifts. And so this family kind of took like an extreme measure. They'd pile all their toys in the trunk of their car after that Christmas, like on their way home, all the toys would go into the trunk. And the next day, if the kids wanted something out, they had to like ask for it specifically. So whatever was left in the trunk did not ever even enter their house. That just went straight to donations. So like anything the kids had not even remembered opening just went straight to donations because they just had so much stuff coming into their house. They said like the majority of their stuff went to donations, which really didn't surprise me, honestly, because I feel like more of the excitement is opening the gifts than actually like receiving the actual gift sometimes. Anyway, it's like the magic of Christmas, and you're like, oh my gosh, there's so much presents here, and you go running and you open all the presents up, and you like forget half of them that you got when you were a kid. Anyway, I don't do that as an adult now, obviously, and now I definitely know everything that comes into my house. But yeah, this method definitely sounded a little bit extreme to me until I kind of thought about how I like also will purposely ignore certain gifts and just not really draw attention to them or make them all that exciting, and I'll just place them in areas that are like not really prime realty toy areas. They're kind of like in the corner or somewhere where they'll be more ignored. And then the closer they get to being like ignored all the time, I just know that's the closer they get to being removed from my home. And so I just kind of don't tell our kids like, oh, have you played with this toy in a while? I'm just like, oh, you don't like it because you haven't brought it out. And I feel like that's on me, like I'm the one kind of encouraging that in their behaviors, right? Because I've kind of like hidden this toy out of sight, out of mind. But Yeah, so the method did seem extreme until I realized that I kind of do it myself anyway. It's just not in the trunk of my car. Long story short is, though, that if you are feeling like really overwhelmed with toys already in your house and you nearly break out in hives every time you are thinking about toys being added to your space after the holidays, then you probably have too many toys. It's really the gist of it. You probably have too many toys and you need to pare them down. So today we're going to go into chat 10 questions that you can ask yourself about your home's toys while you go through them pre-holidays. So this is assuming that you're going to go and kind of do like a little walkthrough of your toys, maybe a little declutter pre-holidays. Why on earth would you go through the toys right now when you're already like so busy? I swear it will stop you from buying. This is why you should do it. It'll stop you from buying too much stuff for your own kids. It'll also help you get like some ideas for gift giving, especially if you're like sending them out to grandparents. And it will clear some space so that you aren't feeling like entirely overwhelmed after the holidays. I do also acknowledge that sometimes we are feeling super overwhelmed already at this time of the year. It's probably a busy time for a lot of us. And we think like this just really isn't the time. But even if you can take like a short hour of your time, an hour is really not that long, but it is a long time to be focused on one thing, such as like decluttering toys, but it isn't really a long time in the grand scheme of things, right? So if you can steal an hour, be like, hey, husband, I'm going to really work on this project for this 1 hour this weekend. See if you can make that work, because I do really think that this will not add to your overwhelm. It's not going to add to your overwhelm. I think it's going to help your overwhelm. We aren't just decluttering because we just like feel like we want to be super minimalistic for no reason, right? We're making room for better play, for more imaginative play. We're making room for more peace for both our kids and ourselves. And decluttering is just more about like seeing what your child values and giving them more room to explore without feeling overwhelmed in their own spaces, right? So you want to kind of give your kids space, right? Anyway, okay, so we're not just decluttering for the sake of like looking minimalistic. We're decluttering for a real purpose here so that your kids can play better, more independent and more imaginative, more creatively, and just not feel super overwhelmed themselves. Because if you're overwhelmed by a space full of toys and stuff, it's probably also the same for your kids. They just might not be able to identify it in the same way that you do. So if I had to give you directions right now, I'd tell you to set a timer for however much time you have, or don't set a timer if you have unlimited time and this is just one of those projects you really want to tackle to the end. So either one, set a timer or don't. Good directions. Set a timer or don't. Okay. Then you're going to get out 2 garbage bags or boxes, whatever you got. One is going to be for garbage. One is going to be for donations. And sometimes, if I know I'm going to be like pushing my kids to get rid of more things than they might want to get rid of at this time, or like hold on to a little more tightly, maybe they're not ready to let things go yet, but I'm like, I know you're going to get a bunch of stuff for Christmas or something. Or maybe I'm not ready to let them go because I know we have a younger kid coming up who's not quite ready for them. And maybe I'll want some of those toys out later. I'll get out a bin and I will put just some, not a lot, some toys in our attic in like a store for later bin. And then if that bin is in the attic for like a while, and it's remained untouched or unasked for, like nothing in there has been asked for, then I'm not even going to look inside and I'm just going to like donate it later. Sometimes I look inside. That's not true. I don't just actually get rid of things without peeking at it. But sometimes I actually look inside and see if there's like gifts that I could re-gift family members and stuff, But sometimes I allow myself a little bit of a grace period with the attic bin. Now, you do have to be careful with this. So I'm telling you, you should have a donation bag and a garbage bag for sure, and maybe an attic bin. But you do have to be careful with it because if you have a lot of toys and clutter, the attic bin might not be a great option for you because you might just need to rip off the Band-Aid or it's going to like haunt your attic space for the next 25 years. So this is just something you kind of have to know about yourself. I'm going to use this as like a little plug and say that in 2026, I think I'm going to take on a few coaching clients and help them walk through decluttering and organizing their spaces so that it's like more efficient for their motherhood and laid out the best for their kids to be able to use independently. So if you're looking for more guidance and you feel like you could use a little bit more guidance, I am looking for a group of individuals to be guinea pigs for a discounted price as I kind of like work through how I want that coaching program to be laid out. So if you're interested, you can shoot me an email at info.natashamila@gmail.com if you're interested. Anyway, there's only going to be a few slots available, so I'm just like putting a plug out there. Anyway, I've gotten like very minimally into the process of actually planning this, so it probably wouldn't be until it wouldn't be like this month that you're starting this little program. It would be like January of 2026 or something. Okay, now we're going to get into the 10 questions that you can ask yourself as you declutter specifically your kid toys before the holiday. You know, there's lots of things in your house that you can declutter, but we're talking kid toys. Okay, number 1, is it broken? That's an easy one. Is it broken or missing important pieces? The key word there is important pieces, because you could actually be missing pieces purposefully. So this is just really like, is the toy actually really just garbage? Like, is it totally unusable, broken, missing like important key pieces that you couldn't use the toy without, right? Obviously, get rid of it if it is. Okay, number 2, that's an easy one. Number 2, do my kids actually play with this, or do they just dump it out? Sometimes this can be pieces of a group of toys. So this is what I meant when I said keyword important pieces, because you might actually want to get rid of some of the pieces of a set. So think like pieces of a kitchen set or pieces of a doctor kit. So like if your kids are like dumping out this bin of kitchen stuff and they're only ever using like 10 of the pieces and like 15 of the pieces are just on the floor, go through those with your kids and be like, do you actually like this? Or like, what? We're not using these. And then they'll probably be like, I don't know. I don't care about those, you know? So you can get rid of pieces of a set. Or like pieces of a doctor kit. Sometimes it's like there's like name tags or weird bracelets or weird things of the doctor kit that never get used. You know, they're the less desirable pieces. And the kids always use like the shot and the arm, you know, the blood pressure cuff and stuff like that. So, you know, pick out the pieces that they use and get rid of the things that they don't. So yes, you can get rid of pieces of a set. It is okay. You can do that. We're trying to distinguish between true play value and just clutter in a bin with other items that have play value. So, you know, like while they might like the doctor kit, there might be parts of it that have no value to them. And so you kind of want to pick which ones actually are valuable to them, you know, because that really does make it. I feel like this is something that makes a huge difference in your decluttering in when it comes to toys, is just like, then you get less stuff dumped out, you know, when you can get rid of some of the things that they don't use that are often dumped out, right? Okay, so that's number 2. Do they actually play with it, or do they just dump it out? And yes, you can get rid of pieces of the same item, right? Okay, pieces of a set. Number 3, what does this toy spark in my kids, and do I want this? So like, does this toy spark creativity? Does it spark cooperative play with siblings? Does it spark calmness in the house, right? Different kinds of play are good for different spaces. So you might need to move a toy to a different space in your home if it's not doing what you want it to do in that space. So like if you have like a little ride-on toy in your living room and you get driven crazy by the kids like riding it around, well, then obviously don't have it in the living room, right? So you might have to decide, like, you can save a type of play. Like you might have to decide on this a little bit too, if you're going to get rid of the item or if you want to just kind of move that item. You can get rid of items totally and be like, this type of play is just going to be used at the park down the street that we go to every afternoon, or we're just going to use, you know, we're going to get rid of this toy, and that kind of play is just going to be for outside, and we're going to make sure we get outside every day, and rid of like the indoor toys that promote that same kind of activity, like jumping or whatever. Like maybe you have an indoor trampoline or something and you're like, nope, I don't want this inside anymore. We have a trampoline outside. We don't need one inside, right? So keep what encourages the kind of play that you want in your space. You could also be asking, how do you want your home to feel in your space? And does this item work toward that goal or against it? Okay. I'm just noting that I feel like my mouth just got unnumb a lot more all of a sudden. So if I start to sound more normal, here I am. It got like significantly less numb in the last 5 seconds. Okay. Number 4, would my child even notice if this item disappeared? This is kind of a good test to see if the kids, they are emotionally attached or if you are the problem. Number 5, would I buy this again today? So this is kind of a good gut check on whether the item still earns its space, right? So would you buy that item again today or would you not? Like it's a good gut check for sure. And, as I'm going through this, it's not like if the answer is yes or no, like that means yes, you definitely have to get rid of it, So you just have to use your best judgment. These are just guiding questions to kind of help you think about toys in a different way, right? Okay, we just did number 5. Number 6. All right, number 6. Is this item age appropriate anymore? Is there something my child is ready to kind of grow into that would replace this item instead? So decluttering can definitely make space for like the next stage of development and interest. So look at like decluttering as not a sad thing necessarily, even though it is kind of sad to say goodbye to some of those favorites from the past. But look at it as like, oh, my child is growing, and that is kind of the point. Kids grow, right? I'm saying that, but like I will cry about it later. Okay, so don't worry, you can have emotions about it, but it is a good thing, right? All right, number 7. Could this toy be replaced by something simpler? Sorry, not similar. Could this toy be replaced by something simpler? This question is kind of really important to ask with any age kid stuff, but especially if you have baby toys. Oftentimes the like quote unquote purpose of a baby toy can be replaced by regular household items like opening and closing lids. You have spoons, you have bowls, etc. Like if you're worried about baby toys and you live in a relatively normal home and you're like, ooh, should I get rid of this baby toy because like will my kid develop properly and stuff? If you have those worries, you probably actually really don't have anything to worry about. Babies are super good at finding what they need to meet their developmental stage that they're working on, right? So like, okay, this is like a personal example at our current moment in time, but I could give you 1,001 more examples. Right now, our youngest, he just turned 1 and he's in the stage of carrying heavy things around. And this is actually a stage. Kids at some point will like want to carry heavy things around. So let me tell you, none of the heavy things that he carries around are his own toys. He finds big pillows to carry around, large baskets, whatever. He carries around all kinds of stuff in our house. And he just did this on his own. Like I didn't encourage this kind of play. It's just the stage that he's in, and he knew, subconsciously that he needed to be working on this. So babies are super good at finding what they need to do with your household items as long as you're not like locking everything up, right? So if you have like a super baby-proofed home, maybe this is not the advice you need to follow. But if you have like a normal home and a lot of things are kind of out and you have older siblings, like they're probably going to find what they need, and you can probably get rid of a lot of your baby toys. A follow-up question here is like, is a toy, this is kind of for like older kids and babies, I'm not just talking about baby toys anymore, but is a toy like a singular use toy, or is it open-ended, and these are a lot of questions, and can multiple toys be replaced by one more open-ended toy? Like, do you have a lot of very specific toys, and can you kind of replace 3 toys with something that's more open-ended that's kind of similar to those 3 toys, right? I wish I should have had like written down an example here. I'm trying to think of one off the top of my head. Like, let's say you have some like building toys, right? And they're like very specific, like you put this here and you put this here and you make this, or you make this like shape, you have like a one-time build and then you just take it apart. You could do it again or something. Or you have maybe a toy where you have to, I don't know, like hide objects inside of something or whatever, and you can like open it up. I don't know. Could you buy magnet tiles? You could make little boxes and hide things inside. You could build towers, like there's a lot of different toys that are open-ended that can replace the purpose of a lot of singular, wow, I'm having a hard time saying that word, singular use toys. Okay. Number 8, is this toy or item very similar or serving the same purpose as any other toy? So this is going to go back into that like multiple toys that could be replaced, right? And which of those toys could you keep and which could you get rid of, So this is obvious for things like stuffed animals or puzzles, like items that are literally the same. Like go through your stuffed animals and be like, which ones do you like, right? Go through your puzzles and be like, do we need 12 puzzles? No, probably 3 is fine. Let's pick the 3 favorites, or the ones that aren't so easy anymore for you, right? Those are easy to kind of pick and choose between. But you might have some toys that are sort of similar that you can still also pick and choose between. So for example, like I said before, we were talking about building toys, but you might have magnet tiles, you might have Legos, you might have all kinds of different blocks, Which ones could you keep and which ones don't get used as often? They're all kind of used for a similar purpose, building something, right? So are there ones that are a little bit better than the others, and could you get rid of other ones even though they're good toys, right? It's okay to get rid of good toys. It's fine if you don't use them, or even if they you don't need them, We'll get into that with number 10. If you don't need them, you don't need a lot of stuff, so it's hard. You're just using your opinion there. But okay, number 9. We'll do this first. Number 9, does it fit your values? I'm not telling you to go get rid of everything like plastic. If you're like, oh, I really wish I had wood, or I'm not telling you to go get rid of everything in your house that's plastic, or that annoying toy that your in-laws got you last year or something. Not everything has to fit your ideals. For example, we value limited screen time, but that does not mean that we don't use screens ever. Like we watch TV, it's fine. So just, you're going to have to kind of use your best judgment here. Like if the toy doesn't fit your value, is it worth the space in your closet, or is it worth the realty on the toy shelf, So use your best judgment. And then number 10, this one kind of went into, I was saying this for number 8, when I was talking about getting rid of good toys, you can ask yourself, could another child love this toy more right now than we do? So really, that gets your kids kind of in a good mindset if they're having a hard time letting go of something that they only kind of like, or even if you're having a hard time getting rid of something because you're like, these are really good blocks, but I don't want to just donate them to St. Vinny's or whatever. But if you do, somebody else gets to love on that toy. We often shop secondhand, so our kids get to experience the receiving end of that. They receive gifts that others have donated, and it's always really cool when we find something really nice, right? And so they can understand the receiving side firsthand. So that is a really good question to ask yourself, do we really love on this item, or would it be better in the hands of someone else who would maybe love it a little bit more, right? Okay, it just kind of gives you a little bit of a mindset shift on keeping versus getting rid of toys. And bonus if you can re-gift it to somebody that you already know, right? So those are the 10 questions. As you kind of approach your items and take the time to declutter pre-holidays, I just have 3 quick pieces of advice as you're kind of going through those questions. Have them kind of going through your brain as you're looking through your items and your toys and whatnot. My advice would be to, number 1, start with the physically largest items. Getting rid of large things out of a space makes a huge impact, and it gets you excited about how the space already feels, and it can definitely help you press forward with that excitement, right? And then, like I said before, I have a donate bag or box, have a garbage bag or box. You'll definitely need both of those. And you might want an attic or attic storage, or storage space. It doesn't have to be an attic, bin or box. If you think you might want to get rid of some stuff out of the space, but you aren't entirely ready to get rid of them yet. Again, This can be sticky, like I mentioned before, so just be careful here. I think you can totally do this with responsibility and with resourcefulness, but if you have like a major clutter problem, you probably shouldn't do this. Okay, so I just say that with like all those caveats. All right, number 3, you'll probably want to involve your kids to some extent if they're over the age of 2. In 2 weeks from now, I'm going to go through some language that you can use to help your kids through this process. So if you want to wait for that before you get excited to declutter and whatnot, you can definitely wait for that podcast episode to come out. But, use your best judgment, right? But it might be kind of encouraging and hopefully give you some pieces of advice on how to talk to kids while they're, going through their things, right? So that they're not we want our kids to care about their things, right? And so our goal is to help them care about their things, but also help them not hold on to them. It's kind of like a tricky little scenario you have going on there. All right. Remember, I'm gonna just kind of like lead out of this podcast episode with this reminder that we are creating room for good play, a joy-filled space, and a home that you can manage well. Your home doesn't have to be perfect, but it should definitely be peaceful enough for everybody to breathe and not feel super overwhelmed in. You might want to take a picture of your toy area before you start, because I feel like it's super fun to see your progress in areas. Obviously, you can definitely feel your progress and you can see it too with your eyes, right? But I feel like it's fun to like look back at the picture before and after. Even if you're only going through your stuff for an hour, you're going to make a big dent. Before I sneak away, I'm just going to quick tell you that I will link in the show notes to my Amazon storefront page. I do have like some lists of favorite things that might encourage ideas for open-ended toys or for other gift ideas. So I'll link to that if you have a need for some like replacement items, or you're just wondering what toys are open-ended and whatnot. So that's it. All right, that is all for today. Thank you for being a podcast listener here. Your support is so encouraging. I hope you find this space somewhat useful and you go get into your toys at some point here at the end of November, at least, maybe, or early December or something before the holidays. All right, drink water, eat snacks, everyone. Talk next time. Tash.